episode of Geography Girl. Today we are taking a fascinating stroll through the streets of Prague in the 14th century. Prague is described as the Gothic jewel in the crown of Bohemia, in the capital of the modern Czech Republic. It has been lauded by poets as the dream of delirious architects, whose magic needs no wand. Today, after decades of political isolation, the city draws many tourists, eager to see its imposing castle, its soaring cathedral and mighty bridge. Between 1347 and 1437, Prague flourished as a religious, political and cultural centre of Central Europe. This period corresponds with the reign of King Charles IV and his successors in the Luxembourg dynasty, marking Prague's transformation into an imperial capital. Charles was the son of the King of Bohemia and the grandson of the Holy Roman Empire. He transformed Prague into a royal capital meant to rival Paris and Rome. He rebuilt Prague Castle with golden towers to shine both the east and the west, founded the first university in Central Europe, and initiated a massive building campaign to glorify St. Vitus's Cathedral. During this period, Prague was at the heart of European politics. It was the capital of the Holy Roman Empire between 1355 and 1378. Charles was the King of Bohemia and the Holy Roman Empire, making Prague the imperial capital and elevating its status above other European cities. It was a centre of learning and culture, with the University of Prague being established in 1348, which consolidated Charles's power and attracted scholars to the area, and was the site of religious power struggles. The Hussite Wars, triggered by the teachings of Jan Hus, challenged the Catholic Church and reshaped Prague's social and religious landscape. As a result, the city became a battleground for the power dynamic between the Catholics and the reformist Hussites, influencing its urban development and architecture. Now on to architectural developments, the Gothic expansion and imperial grandeur. The architecture of Prague in the late 14th and early 15th century was defined by ambitious Gothic construction projects, financed by the royal court and religious institutions. Gothic architecture is an evocative symbol of medieval Europe. Gothic was often used to create sacred spaces. The heaviness of earth was crafted into palaces of the ethereal. Royal and public architecture was at the height of masonry. Gothic was a painstaking and often dangerous discipline. Stone was reshaped into tracings, ribs, and flying buttresses with strong techniques and passion. Gothic architecture originated in the north of France in the 12th century and lasted in Europe until the 16th century. It evolved out of Romanesque architecture and is characterised by the pointed arch, flying buttresses, and stained glass windows. The early example is that of the Abbey of Saint Denis, near Paris, where between 1140 and 1144 the choir room was reconstructed in a style that emphasised verticality and transmission of light through stained glass windows. The term Gothic architecture originated as a pejorative description. Giorgio Vasari used the term barbarous German style in the lives of artists to describe what is now considered the Gothic style. And in the introduction to the lives, he attributes various architectural features to the Goths, whom he held responsible for destroying ancient buildings after they conquered Rome, and erecting new ones in this style. Gothic style is often being seen as an opposition to classical architecture, and from that point of view was associated with the destruction of advancement and sophistication. St. Vitus's Cathedral is the most significant Gothic structure in Prague and one of the greatest medieval cathedrals in Europe. It serves as the spiritual heart of Bohemia, housing the tombs of Bohemian kings, Holy Roman emperors and saints. Its architecture reflects the ambitions of Charles IV, who sought to make Prague a rival to Paris and Rome in both political and artistic grandeur. Construction began in 1344 when Prague was elevated to an archbishopric, symbolising its rising religious and political importance. The project was commissioned by King Charles IV and was inspired by French High Gothic Cathedral. Charles invited Matthias of Arras, a French master mason trained in the Rayonnant Gothic style, to design the structure. After Matthias's death, the German architecture Peter Parler took over, introducing innovative late Gothic elements. The first is a vertical emphasis and light. Like other Gothic cathedrals, St. Vitus is designed to draw the eye upwards, symbolising the connection between earth and heaven. There are soaring, ribbed vaults, pointed arches and clustered columns to contribute to verticality, and large stained glass windows, including the famous rose window, that flood the interior with colourful light, reinforcing a sense of divine presence. The cathedral employed a complex rib vaulting, characteristics of high and late Gothic style. This system allows for thinner inner walls and larger windows, unlike earlier Romanesque churches. The vaulting in the choir is particularly innovative, with lacy, net-like patterns introduced by Peter Parler. And flying buttresses. Massive fly buttresses support the upper walls and prevent collapse by distributing the cathedral's weight outwards. These buttresses enable the construction of tall, clerestory windows, increasing the interior illumination. They also enhance the cathedral's external silhouette, creating a dramatic and dynamic visual effect. There's stained glass and ornamentation. The cathedral boasts some of the most elaborate stained glass in Europe, including Alfonso Mucha Art's Nouveau window from 1929 in the north transept, which merges Gothic and modern aesthetics, and the 14th century apse windows depicting biblical and royal iconography. There is also sculptural decoration on portals and facades featuring religious narratives, saints, and grotesques. The cathedral's two western towers were completed in the 19th century to reflect the Gothic revival movement, but follow the medieval design principles. The Great Southern Tower, built by Parler, houses the largest bell in Bohemia, the Sigmund. And finally, the Chapel of St. Wenceslas is one of the most famous sections. This chapel features gold, semi-precious stones and frescoes depicting the life of St. Wenceslas, Bohemia's patron saint. Its lavish design reflects Charles's attempt to connect Prague with the divine authority and assert the Czech's crown prestige. St. Vitus's Cathedral was intended to rival the Notre Dame in Paris and Cologne Cathedral, placing Prague at the centre of the Holy Roman Empire's religious and political power. The construction was interrupted by wars and political shifts, reflecting the turbulent history of Bohemia, including the Hussite Wars. Later rulers, including Habsburg empires, continued its development, culminating in its final completion in 1929, showcasing a blend of medieval and modern elements. The Charles Bridge is an iconic bridge that connects the old and lesser town. Its construction was commissioned by Charles IV and began in 1357. Charles Bridge is one of the many monuments that were built during his reign. It is said that egg yolks were mixed into the mortar to strengthen the construction of the bridge. It is lined by 30 Gothic statues, which became a monumental symbol of the city's prosperity. The plaque on the statues has been polished to a shine by countless people having touched it over the centuries. Touching the statue is supposed to bring good luck and ensure your return to Prague. The new town of Prague is one of the most ambitious urban projects of the 14th century. Designed as an expansion of medieval Prague, it aimed to transform the city into a major political, economic and cultural centre. The new town was carefully planned, incorporating Gothic architectural principles and an early example of structured urban planning. Unlike the old town, which was developed naturally, the new town was designed on a geometric grid with wide streets and large squares, making it one of the largest urban planning projects in the Middle Ages. It connected the Vyšehrad, the ancient fortress of the Czech rulers, with Prague Castle, symbolising the continuity between Bohemia's royal past and its future as an imperial centre. Charles planned 3 major squares, each serving a unique function. The Charles Square, which is one of the largest medieval squares in Europe, designed as a marketplace and a gathering spot. The Senovazne Square, focused on grain trading and commerce. And the Horse Market, or Wenceslas Square, which is now Prague's most famous boulevard, and originally a livestock market. The new town wall was completed in 1350 and stretched for 3.5 kilometres, featuring several Gothic towers and gates, enclosing the new town and reinforcing Prague's defensive structure. Installed in 1410, the astronomical clock is the third oldest astronomical clock in the world, and is the oldest still in operation. It was designed by the clockmaker Mikuláš of Kadaň and the mathematician Jan Sindel, reflecting the fusion of Gothic aesthetics, science and religious symbolism. The clock is set within a richly carved Gothic frame, featuring intricate stone tracery around the dials, Gothic pinnacles and finales decorating the structure, and sculpted figures of saints reinforcing the religious symbolism of the time and mortality. The upper part of the clock consists of an astronomical dial, which follows Gothic design and principles of complexity and vertical hierarchy. It includes a central sphere representing Earth, a moving sun and moon indicating celestial positions, and zodiac rings showing medieval beliefs about astrology. The apostles were added in 1490, further enhancing the Gothic theatricity of the clock, and every hour the wooden statues of the 12 apostles appear in 2 Gothic windows above the clock face. The lower dial was added in the late 15th century, featuring a Gothic calendar wheel painted by Joseph Mains. The calendar showcases detailed medieval imagery of the months and astrological signs. The old town represented a newfound power of Prague's burghers, wealthy merchants and guilds who played a major role in governing the city. It symbolised urban autonomy, making Prague as the centre of medieval democracy and commerce. The Old Town and the astronomical clock stands as a masterpiece of Gothic architecture, blending structural elegance and economic and astronomic precision and religious symbolism. They reflect Prague's medieval grandeur, highlighting its role as a political, economic and scientific hub in the 14th and 15th centuries. And I think that's a good place to end for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked it, give us a like. If you would like to subscribe, please do. I bring out new episodes every Tuesday. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.